all. The point of this video is to show you how to use your machine and to get you to the point where you can practice stitching on paper. The first thing I need you to know about your machine is that it is a very nice, very expensive machine. These were purchased in 2022, and I worked very hard to get them for you guys. And I'm very excited to let you use them, but I need you to treat them with respect and to use them the way that I'm teaching you how to use them, and not to use them incorrectly or to abuse them in any way, because they cost more than a used car. So we're going to treat them really nicely, and they're amazing, so you're going to have a lot of fun. The first thing that you'll notice is that they do have a nice hard cover on them, so whenever you're not using your machine, feel free to cover that up, and that'll keep it safe from any spills that might happen or any bumps. When you are using them, you can just remove it gently, and please be nice to the cover. You can place it on the floor, or you can place it next to you wherever it's not in your way. You'll notice that if you're sitting at the tables, you'll have your foot pedal that should be wrapped up. I did a poor job just now wrapping it up. But it should be wrapped up and off the floor so that people don't run into it when they're not in a sewing class. So to use the machine, the first thing that we need to do is we need to plug in our foot pedal, which goes right here in the back corner. And I'm going to move my computer and angle it so you can see. So it gets plugged in right here in the corner. You'll see also plugged in is your power cord. If you turn on your machine and it doesn't work, check that both of those are plugged in. All right, to turn on the machine, we just click that right there. And I want you to notice that it takes a little bit of time for the machine to kind of warm up. You should see that your computer screen lights up and you have a light that turns on as well right there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start learning about how the machine works. There are two ways to move the needle up and down. The first is kind of the obvious one, and that is your foot pedal. This will go underneath your foot. And what you'll do is you'll just press down on it. Oh, and it didn't work for me just now because my presser foot is up, which I'll explain later. But with my presser foot down, I should be able to press down on this, and the machine will start working. Okay? One thing I really want to stress is that you do not need to jam on the machine. It does not need to warm up. It is ready to go. So a lot of kids will get into my sewing room, they'll turn on the machines, and they'll slam on the foot pedal. There is absolutely no reason to do this, and I don't want to hear that in the classroom. It's kind of disrespectful to me and disrespectful to the machine as well. The machine will work just fine without needing to be warmed up. The other thing I want to talk to you about speed is that you get to choose your own pace. That means you can go fast if you want to, but you don't have to go fast. And being fast doesn't make you a good sewist. Some kids will start and just want to go as fast as they can, and they don't do a good job of it. So please don't start fast, because you're not able to do that as you begin. Okay, so that's the foot pedal. I'm going to put that down where I'm comfortable, where my feet are. What I want to do is make sure that my foot is not hovering over the pedal when I'm not sewing. Let's say that I'm having my fingers next to the needle here and I'm threading it. What I don't want to have happen is my foot to slip and hit the foot pedal and accidentally start when I'm sewing. So whenever I'm sewing, or whenever I'm not sewing, I'm going to take my foot and put it over on the side where the foot pedal isn't. And I'm just going to do that right now so I don't forget. Okay, the other thing that moves the needle is the hand wheel right here. I'm going to do it over top so you can see. So watch the needle. You can see the needle goes up and down when I move the needle, or when I move the hand wheel, excuse me. Okay, so those are our two ways that we can move the needle. Okay, the next thing I want to show you that's really important, and I'm going to just move everything a little closer, is your presser foot. And that's this guy right here. The presser foot was the thing that, because it was up, my machine didn't work for me. And that's because you always want to have your presser foot down or your needle down at all times while you're sewing. Never should you pick up the presser foot and the needle at the same time and move your fabric. You always want to have either one of them down at the same time. The presser foot has a lifter that's in the back right here. And you can kind of see it. I'm going to move my machine so you can see it. Right here's my presser. Oh, you can't see it still. There we go. I'm going to move that right here, and you can see this is how I'm raising and lowering my presser foot. Underneath my presser foot, right down there, is something called my feed dogs. Now, when I move my needle with my hand wheel, you can see slightly right there. I'm just going a little bit tighter so you can see that my feed dogs right there are moving. The job of the feed dogs is to move your fabric forward through the machine. So that means that you don't have to do that. When you put the presser foot down and you move your feed dogs forward, it pulls your fabric away from you, meaning that you don't have to push the fabric or pull the fabric. The machine will do that for you. When you sew, basically your only job is to make sure that it doesn't go left or right, that it stays where you want it to stay. So now I'm going to show you how it all works together. Let's pretend this is a piece of fabric for now. What I'm going to do to start is I'm just going to throw, and just for right now, I'm just going to throw it in the machine anywhere is just fine. Because what I want you to see is that the machine will do most of the work for you, and that all you have to do is make sure that you're keeping your hands somewhere comfortable and making sure that you're keeping it straight. But my hands right now are going to be right here, and I want you to see that the machine is pulling my fabric, or paper in this case, forward without me. And it's actually doing a really nice job of keeping straight, but I still want to be there in case something goes haywire. So let me show you what that looks like. That is this piece right here where my finger is. I've done some practices before you. Right there, okay? So this practice piece has 2 instructions on it. So you can read up here or you can listen to me now. The first is that I want you to practice sewing right down the line, right on the line, and just practice being precise that way. When you do that, what I'm looking for is nice, neat, even stitches that look like this. The second thing I want you to do is practice going off the line, and I'm going to show you how to do both. So don't just start, I want to show you. As I'm practicing going on the line, I'm just going to pick the middle line for right now. I'm going to line up the line on the paper with the middle of the presser foot. I'm going to be sewing at a weird angle for me, but it's better for you in the camera so you can see it. But I've lined up my needle with the line on my paper. And I want to find a good hands position that makes it comfortable for me. So you can go anywhere you would like as long as it's not in front of the needle. I like sometimes to hold down below, and sometimes I like to hold up above. The main thing I need to know about this is I'm not pulling the paper forward. I'm just there to make sure it goes left and right so it stays on the line. So I'm going to go ahead and push down and go for it. Again, you want to choose a speed that's comfortable to you. Right now, my eye is on right below the needle. That's where I'm checking out right now to make sure I'm going straight. Okay, I'm going to go unstraight for a second to show you what not to do. Okay, so I moved the fabric, so now you can see that I'm not even with my line. What I want you to do is to think about it like a car. If you're getting off the road a little bit, you need to just gently ease back onto the road. And same here. So now that I'm off, what I want to do is I want to slowly but carefully bring my paper back to the middle and get on that line. Okay? You can see it on here. Right here's my line where I get off and get back on. It doesn't look great, but let me show you what a lot of kids choose to do, and that looks even worse. So here's my line. I go off my line ever so slightly. What some people say is, oh no, I'm off. What I'm going to do is pick up my needle and my presser foot and move my paper back to where it's perfect. And then I'm going to keep going. And what that ends up looking like is something like this, right? So there's a clear break in where I went off and where I moved the fabric and went back on. When you actually go have thread in there, it's going to have a big loop and it'll look really bad. So to me, this mistake is a lot less obvious than this mistake. So I want you to practice staying on the line. I also want you to practice with your speed. Here are a few things that people do incorrectly when they're practicing and when they're stitching. The first is what I call a control freak. And a control freak is when someone holds on to the paper too much and they don't let the feed dogs do their job. And you can see what that looks like right here. Here's a nice even stitch. The control freak has little tiny dots. Okay, Speed Demon looks like this. Speed Demon might go way, way, way too fast. The Speed Demon often doesn't have enough time to make their stitches look good, and it goes off. So you want to be careful not to do either of those things. You want to find a speed that's right for you. The second challenge I have for you with this paper is to go off the line. Now when we sew, we rarely sew on a line. Usually we are using some sort of measurement on the machine, and for you guys it's going to be the side of your presser foot. So I want you to practice it on this. Now, the point of this is not just to pick a spot in the middle and just go anywhere. The point is to use the presser foot and line it up. So I'm going to line up the edge of my fabric, or the edge of my line right here, with the edge of the presser foot right here. Now, instead of watching the needle, I'm going to be watching right here, watching the edge of my presser foot. That's good here. You can see right here that I've kept it nice and even. I bet if you measured this, it would be pretty parallel. So that's what I want you to practice. The next practice piece I want you to experiment with is learning how to sew on a corner. Now, you can't just take it and go vroom like a curve, because then you're going to end up with a curved edge rather than a squared edge. So for this one, I actually want you to practice by stitching on the line, and when you get to the corner, I want you to do a special procedure, and it's listed up above if you have questions. So I'm going to cheat real quick and just start at the corner. So I have my presser foot down. I'm going to go ahead and stitch all the way to the corner and get as close to the corner as possible. When I'm in the corner, I want to put my needle down. I can either use my presser foot or I can use my hand wheel. And I'm going to drop my needle in the corner and pick up my presser foot. That way I can turn it so that I get a really nice square rather than a curve. And then I'm going to keep going. What you shouldn't do is this. You get to the corner and then you're like, ooh, it's not exactly in the corner. I'm going to move my paper until it's perfectly in the corner, and then I'm going to put my needle down, and then I'm going to turn it. Because that's what happened on our last piece, and that made it look really bad. Now I want you to see that I'm not perfectly in the corner. That's okay. We want to be close to the corner, but it doesn't matter if you're exactly perfect or not. Close is just fine. So I want you to practice that all the way around on this maze. The last challenge is really quite a challenge. This guy right here is just like the maze you just did. I want you to practice putting your needle in each of those corners. Boom, boom, boom. The other one is a curve, and curves are very, very difficult. So difficult, in fact, I'm not even going to show you. I just want you to experiment and see what it's like to sew on a curve. You will not have to sew a curve in this class, but it is kind of a fun challenge. Good luck!